She was just a humble intern with borrowed clothes and a dream. But when Amara Denton caught the eye of Ghana's coldest billionaire, everything changed. From whispers and sabotage to forbidden romance and a life-altering proposal, her journey from overlooked assistant to powerful CEO is filled with betrayal, ambition, and undeniable love. How did a girl with nothing end up capturing the heart of a man who swore he'd never fall again? You'll have to hear it to believe it. Where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more unforgettable love stories like this. Amara Denton stood at the foot of Xenith Tower, her breath hitching as she craned her neck to take in the sharp glass lines of Accra's most intimidating skyscraper. It stretched into the clouds like it didn't care who watched it rise. Her palms were damp, her stomach churned, her heels clicked nervously on the marble as the security guard scanned her ID. This was it. She whispered a quiet prayer under her breath, the same one her mother taught her every time life felt too big. Lord, let your will be done. Dressed in a crisp white blouse and a navy pencil skirt she'd borrowed from her cousin for the occasion, Amara adjusted her black bag on her shoulder and lifted her chin. She didn't come this far to tremble now. At 24, she had clawed her way to this moment. Raised in the heartbeat of Dansoman by a single mother who sold roasted corn and sachet water to make ends meet, Amara had seen the gritty side of life up close. She was the first in her family to go to university, now in her final year of business administration at the University of Ghana. While her classmates were posting selfies at rooftop bars or flying to Dubai with sugar daddies, Amara was grinding, studying late, helping her younger brother with homework, and hustling for every opportunity that would one day pull her family out of poverty. She had never smoked, never drank, never even kissed anyone. Some called her boring. Others mocked her behind her back, nicknaming her Sister Mary. But Amara didn't care. She wasn't saving herself for anyone but her dreams. She wasn't here to flirt or charm her way up the corporate ladder. She was here to work, period. So, when the receptionist finally looked up and said, "Miss Denton, Mr. Cole will see you now," Amara blinked. "Excuse me?" she asked, momentarily thrown off. "Mr. Damien Cole?" The receptionist nodded. "Yes, he'll interview you himself." Amara's heart skipped, then thundered. Damien Cole? The CEO of Xenith Holdings? The youngest self-made billionaire in Ghana? The man whose face appeared in every business magazine, always serious, always cold, always calculating? She'd read the rumors, how women threw themselves at him and were met with nothing but polite disinterest. He wasn't known for mercy. He was known for precision. And yet, here she was, about to sit across from him. As she walked down the sleek hallway lined with glass and chrome, her reflection flickered beside her like a nervous ghost. Brown skin glowing under the soft lights, eyes wide but focused. She reached the tall black doors, exhaled slowly, and pushed them open. The office was cold and quiet, the view of the city stretching endlessly behind the massive glass wall. And there he was. Damien Cole sat at a pristine glass desk, dressed in a fitted charcoal suit, black shirt, no tie. He looked up, and their eyes met. For a split second, everything stilled. His gaze, sharp as a hawk's, locked onto her like he was reading the fine print of her soul. "You're 10 minutes early," he said, voice low, cool, exact. "I don't believe in wasting time, sir." Amara replied, her voice steadier than her heartbeat. Something flickered in his expression. Was it curiosity? Annoyance? She couldn't tell. "Sit," he said simply. She obeyed, sitting upright, back straight like a soldier awaiting inspection. He picked up her resume, glanced at it without real interest. "Top of your class, good recommendations, first-class material." "Yes, sir." "Tell me something that's not on this paper." Amara hesitated, but she wasn't raised to shrink in front of men, especially not powerful ones. "I was raised by a single mother. She taught me that character matters more than credentials. I don't sleep around, I don't cut corners, I work hard and stay clean. It's not in the file, but I promise it matters." Damien said nothing, but the tick in his jaw gave him away. Most women who sat across from him tried to impress. Amara didn't even smile. "Do you know who I am, Miss Denton?" he asked. "Of course," she answered calmly. "Everyone does. And yet you sit there unshaken." "I'm nervous," she admitted, "but fear doesn't stop me from telling the truth." He stared at her like a riddle he couldn't solve. Then abruptly, "You start Monday. Report to my executive assistant, 7 a.m. sharp." She stood, gave a small bow, and turned to leave. Behind her, she felt the air shift. Something had just begun, and it wasn't just an internship. Amara arrived at Xenith Tower on her first day wearing the same borrowed skirt, pressed to perfection, and a white blouse she'd hand-washed the night before. Her shoes, though slightly worn, clicked confidently across the marble lobby. She stepped into the elevator, heart pounding, holding her notebook like a shield. The executive floor looked like something out of a luxury design magazine. Polished wood, floor-to-ceiling windows, and silence so thick it made every breath feel loud. But it wasn't the space that unnerved her. It was the eyes. The moment she stepped out, heads turned, some subtle, some not. The receptionist paused mid-typing. A few assistants looked up from their screens, eyes narrowing just slightly. She could feel their curiosity rippling through the air. Whispers trailed behind her like perfume. "That's her," someone muttered behind a palm. "The intern he interviewed himself. She must be someone's cousin or something else." Amara kept walking. She had grown up on streets where kids threw stones at your self-worth and teachers doubted your potential. Office gossip didn't scare her. She approached the desk of a thin, sharply dressed woman with angular features and a tighter-than-necessary bun. "Excuse me, I'm Amara Denton, reporting to the executive assistant." The woman looked up, unimpressed. "I'm Cynthia Ajay. That's me." She stood, towering slightly over Amara in 6-inch heels. "So you're the hand-picked one." Amara gave a polite nod. "Yes, ma'am." Cynthia didn't hide the curl of disdain on her lips. "Follow me." She led Amara through a hallway of glass offices, then dropped a stack of thick folders onto a narrow desk shoved in the corner of a supply room dressed up as a workspace. "Sort these alphabetically by end-of-quarter relevance. Then clean up the boardroom after the 9 a.m. meeting, and please, no lipstick stains on the coffee cups." Amara didn't flinch, understood. She set to work, her fingers moving efficiently, her mind focused. While others fluttered around looking for validation, Amara worked like she had something to prove, because she did. By noon, she had sorted every file, dusted the boardroom, refilled the water pitchers, and even found time to reformat a poorly structured presentation template. She didn't ask for approval. She didn't need it. But even as she kept her head down, the whispers kept growing. "She's not like the others. No selfies, no heels, no makeup. She's quiet, too quiet. She's either a saint or the best actress we've seen." Amara didn't look up. She knew the tone of envy too well to be shaken by it. What she didn't know was that Damien Cole had been watching her from behind his tinted glass wall the entire time. His office was positioned like a throne, overlooking the battlefield, every corner of it visible to his keen eyes. And from the moment she walked in, he had noticed everything. No fanfare, no fake laughter, no flirty smiles, just focus, grace, real. "She's different," he muttered under his breath. Quincy, his longtime assistant, stepped in without knocking and raised a brow. "Did you say something, sir?" Damien blinked, his face hardening. "Nothing. Schedule the Dubai deal call." But Quincy knew what he saw. Damien hadn't looked twice at a woman since the collapse of his last relationship, one that nearly took his company with it. But this girl, this intern named Amara Denton, something about her poked holes in the walls he had built around himself. By the end of the week, the entire office was buzzing with theories. Amara became less of an intern and more of a mystery. She was always early, always prepared, always invisible just enough to avoid direct fire. When she passed the executive wing, she never even glanced at Damien's office. And that, more than anything, made people notice her more. Late Friday afternoon, Amara sat in her corner reviewing marketing projections when her office landline rang, a line usually reserved for internal directors. She hesitated, then picked up. "Amara speaking." Damien's voice slid through the line like a smooth blade. "Come to my office." He didn't wait for her reply. The call ended. Her hands trembled slightly as she stood. She smoothed her skirt, took a breath and walked past Cynthia, who raised one perfectly arched brow as if to say, "Told you so." Amara knocked once, then entered Damien's office. The blinds were drawn. The room was dimly lit, bathed in a warm golden hue from the city lights outside. Damien stood by the window, hands in his pockets, his broad shoulders tense under his tailored shirt. "You don't talk much," he said without turning. "I talk when necessary," she replied softly. He finally turned to face her. eyes studying her like she was a puzzle no one else could solve. And you don't try to impress anyone here. I didn't come here to perform, I came here to work. His lips twitched, almost a smile, almost. He walked to his desk and handed her a manila folder. You'll accompany me to a client dinner tomorrow night. Informal setting. My assistant's out sick. I need someone who listens more than they talk. Amara blinked. A dinner? With you? You have a problem with that? No, sir. Good. Address will be sent to your address. 7 p.m. sharp. Don't be late. She nodded, took the file, and left the room slowly, her heart hammering against her ribs. Dinner with Damien Cole. Something was shifting, and she wasn't sure if it was her life or her heart. The dress arrived in a matte black box tied with a silk ribbon, delivered by a silent driver who didn't wait for thanks. Amara opened it carefully, her breath catching as midnight blue silk shimmered in the light. It was off-shoulder, elegant, hugging in all the right places, not flashy, but commanding. She'd never worn anything like it. Her cousin gasped when she saw her in the mirror, her brown skin glowing, her hair swept into a low bun, a single silver earring glinting just beneath it. Girl, you don't look like you're going to dinner, her cousin whispered. You look like the one being served. The sleek car pulled up right on time. No words from the driver, just a nod. As they pulled away from her modest flat in East Legon, Amara looked out the window, the city lights blurring past like dreams in motion. She tried to calm her racing heart, to remind herself this wasn't a date, it was business. Strictly professional. But when she stepped out at the oceanfront restaurant, a place she'd only ever seen in magazines, her breath stalled again. Damien was already outside, standing like a shadow sculpted in a black tailored suit, no tie, no flash, just quiet power. His eyes swept over her from head to toe. Not possessive, not romantic, just intense, like he was trying to figure out how she had become the most surprising thing in his carefully controlled world. You clean up well, he said, voice unreadable. Thank you, she replied, meeting his gaze. You don't look too bad yourself. His lips twitched, again, not quite a smile but something close. Come on, the client's waiting. Inside, the restaurant glowed with low candlelight and the soft hum of live jazz. They were led to a private room where a French Ghanaian investor and his wife sat waiting. Amara greeted them with warmth and grace, like she'd done it 100 times. Damien watched, mostly silent, letting her speak when needed, and she was flawless. She asked smart questions, listened carefully, answered precisely, and never once tried to dominate the conversation. Even the investor's wife raised a brow in quiet approval. By the end of the night, Amara had earned more than respect. She had earned attention. As they walked back to the car, Damien remained quiet. Amara assumed the evening was over, her job done. But just as she reached for the door handle, his voice cut through the night air. You surprised me. She turned slightly. How so? You're not just smart. You carry yourself like you've got nothing to prove. That's rare. She met his gaze steadily, maybe because I've spent most of my life being underestimated. For a moment, silence stretched between them, taut and electric. I said I'd never fall in love again, Damien said quietly, almost to himself. Women, they take and leave. That's all I've known. Amara's brow rose slightly. Then maybe you've only known the wrong ones. Their eyes locked. Just for a second, something passed between them. An invisible current neither of them dared name. But Damien stepped back first, retreating into himself. You should go in, he said, voice low again. Good night. Amara nodded, slipped into the car, and sat in silence as the driver pulled away. Her heart was pounding in her chest, her pulse thudding like it wanted answers she couldn't give. Monday came, and the air in Xenith Tower was charged. She wore her usual neat blouse and pencil skirt, but something felt different. Everyone looked. Everyone whispered. That's her, they said. The intern who had dinner with the boss. Some smirked, some glared, others just stared. Cynthia greeted her with a thin-lipped smile and a voice dipped in poison. Enjoy your little outing, Miss Denton? Amara didn't flinch. It was a professional dinner. Of course, Cynthia replied, eyes glinting. Everything's professional when a billionaire sends you silk. Amara turned away. She didn't owe explanations. But the real shock came at 11 a.m. during the executive meeting. Amara was in the corner taking notes when Damien entered. He glanced across the room, paused when he saw her, and said flatly, Denton, take these notes personally. I'll dictate. The room froze. Executives stared. Cynthia's pen cracked between her fingers. Amara stood, calm but rattled, and walked to his side. She sat beside him, focused, steady, despite the daggers shooting at her from every direction. Afterward, Damien pulled her aside. "You handled that well." "They all hate me now," she murmured. "They're not used to someone earning my attention without trying to seduce me," he replied. "But you didn't ask for it. You just showed up." Amara stared at him. "And what do you want from me, Mr. Cole?" He hesitated, his voice softening. "I don't know, but I've already broken my first rule. I noticed you." And with that, he walked away, leaving Amara standing there, breathless, caught in a storm she never asked for, but couldn't stop walking into. The email hit inboxes at 10:03 a.m. sharp. Subject line, "Staff restructure, immediate effect." The sender, Damien Cole. Phones buzzed, brows furrowed, heads lifted from keyboards as a hush swept across Xenith Tower. Amara opened it, her heart skipping before it even registered what she was reading. Effective immediately, Miss Amara Denton is appointed Executive Personal Assistant to the CEO. She will report directly to me. All external client affairs, scheduling, and communication will pass through her. Silence reigned for one long breath. Then the storm erupted. Cynthia's chair screeched against the floor as she stood too fast, disbelief etched into her face. "What? She's an intern," someone whispered. "He's lost his mind," another muttered. "She's been here, what, 2 weeks?" Amara sat frozen, the words on the screen blinking like a dare. Her hands trembled slightly as her desk phone rang. She picked it up. Damien's voice came through, firm and clear. "You have 10 minutes to pack your things and meet me upstairs. Welcome to your new role." Click. She stood slowly, aware of the dozens of eyes burning into her. Some looked at her with open disgust, others with pity. But none of them knew what this meant. Not yet. And truthfully, neither did she. She gathered her few belongings, spine straight, lips pressed into a line. She didn't run. She didn't explain. She walked. Upstairs, a new desk had already been prepared, sleek, modern, positioned right outside Damien's office. A nameplate rested at the edge, Amara Denton, Executive Assistant to the CEO. A bouquet of white roses sat in a crystal vase, no card. She barely had time to take it in before Damien emerged from his office. "I don't explain my decisions to anyone," he said without preamble, hands in his pockets, gaze unreadable. "But you need to understand something." "Yes, sir. This isn't a favor, it's war." Her eyes narrowed. "War?" He stepped closer. "The moment I made that announcement, I placed a target on your back. But I also gave you power. Use it. Learn. Don't disappoint me." "I won't," she said quietly. He studied her face for a beat too long, then added, even softer, "You make it hard to keep my guard up." Then he turned and disappeared back into his office, leaving Amara in a whirlwind of tension and shifting reality. The executive floor was colder after that, not in temperature but in tone. Every smile was fake, every glance calculated. Cynthia passed her desk with a smirk one afternoon and muttered, "Big move, intern. Let's hope you know how to keep your legs and lips sealed." Amara didn't flinch. She returned the smile, cool and measured. "Let's hope you know how to keep your bitterness from staining your teeth." She buried herself in work, arriving before sunrise and staying long after the lights dimmed. She memorized Damien's calendar, knew when he liked his coffee, how he preferred documents organized, which clients to prioritize and which ones to stonewall. She handled his contracts, scheduled his board meetings, rewired a broken projector minutes before a major investor call, and never once asked for praise. One afternoon, after she'd single-handedly saved a client presentation from collapse, a senior manager named Maxwell leaned on the edge of her desk. "You know," he said with a smirk, "you're making enemies faster than you're making friends." Amara didn't look up from her notes. "I came here to work, not to be liked." He chuckled. "Good answer. Just remember, this place is a chessboard, and Damien Cole, he only plays to win. Queens that rise too fast tend to draw fire." She finally looked up. "Then they'd better aim well. I don't fall easy." Just as he walked away, Damien's voice came from the hallway. "Amara, with me. Strategy meeting. Now." She stood instantly, heels echoing against the polished tile as she followed him. The room quieted as she entered, but there was a new energy behind the stairs now. Confusion, maybe even fear. That night, long after the meeting had ended, she was still at her desk typing up notes when Damien stepped out of his office. His blazer was gone, sleeves rolled, tie loosened. He looked different, less CEO, more man. "You haven't eaten," he said. Amara glanced up. "Neither have you." "I ordered something." A quiet pause. "You'll join me," he added. Not a question, a statement. Moments later, they sat across from each other in his office with plates of jollof rice and grilled tilapia. No formalities, no walls. Just the hum of city lights and quiet breathing between bites. "You adapt fast," Damien said at last. "It's part of surviving." He leaned back, eyes never leaving her. "That's the thing. You don't just survive. You walk like you've already won." Amara held his gaze, lips twitching. "You think I've won?" He didn't answer right away. He picked up his glass, took a sip of water, then murmured, "I've had models, socialites, heiresses throw themselves at me, but none of them made me feel anything." Her breath hitched. "I told myself I wouldn't let a woman distract me again," he said, voice low. "Not after the last time." She stayed silent, heart thudding. "But now," he continued, "I find myself wondering what it would feel like to reach for something real." He stood slowly, walked around the desk and stopped just in front of her. His hand lifted, brushed a stray curl from her face. Amara froze. "Go home," he whispered, "before I forget every rule I've ever set." Her voice barely made it out. "Too late, Damien. I crossed that line the moment I saw you as more than my boss." Their eyes locked. The air shifted. Then, with a breathless hush, she turned and walked out. And Damien stood there, jaw clenched, fists buried in his pockets, watching the one woman who had unraveled him with nothing but silence and fire. 2 days passed in a strange haze, but Amara still couldn't shake the memory of Damien's fingers brushing her cheek, the quiet hunger in his voice, the way he'd looked at her like she was the only steady thing in his world. Then, on Monday morning, she arrived at the office before 7, as usual. The air smelled of lemon polish and brewing coffee, calm and untouched, until she saw it. A bouquet of deep crimson roses sat in a glass vase on her desk. No card, no tag, just a single folded note with her name written in bold, slanted script. Amara. Her fingers trembled slightly as she opened it. "I told myself I wouldn't feel again. You ruined that." She stared at the words, her breath catching, the quiet thrill slipping into her chest like heat. It was undeniable now. Whatever had started between them wasn't just tension, it was growing into something dangerous, something real. By 9 a.m., the quiet joy disappeared. Cynthia strolled past, caught sight of the roses, and froze. Her eyes narrowed as her lips pulled into a razor-thin smile. Well, someone's been busy." Amara said nothing. She simply picked up her notepad and headed toward the boardroom. But by lunch, the whispers had become louder. Colleagues huddled near water dispensers. Assistants peeked through glass walls. "The flowers are from him," they said. "He promoted her because they're sleeping together." Then HR sent an email. Reminder: company policy strictly prohibits personal relationships between executives and direct subordinates. Amara kept her head high, but the sting dug in deep. Damien hadn't said a word all morning. He passed her twice in the hallway, his expression cold, unreadable, as though nothing had ever happened between them. But just before closing, her calendar pinged with a new invite. Private discussion, CEO office. 5:45 p.m. She stared at it for a full minute before clicking accept. When she entered his office that evening, the lights were low, the city outside dim and hazy through the glass wall. Damien stood by the window, his back to her. "You sent for me," she said quietly. "Close the door," he said. She did. Silence followed. "Then, do you know why I chose you, Amara?" She hesitated. "Because I work hard." "No." He turned, eyes burning with something fierce and vulnerable. "I chose you because you made me feel something I wasn't ready to feel again." She said nothing, her throat tight. "I built all of this," he continued, motioning around the room. "From nothing. My father disappeared. My first investor betrayed me. The woman I loved walked away when I lost everything. I told myself love was a liability, weakness, that I'd never let anyone close again." He took a step forward. "But then you came in here, with that calm voice, that sharp mind, that fire in your silence. And suddenly, I was checking my watch to see when you'd arrive, smiling at your dry jokes, losing sleep, wondering what you dreamed about." Amara's eyes shimmered. "Damien." He reached into his desk drawer and placed an envelope on the table between them. "This isn't goodbye," he said. "This is freedom." She opened the envelope and gasped. legal documents, capital, a full startup proposal, office space in East Legon, logo designs already mocked up, Denton Communications. You're brilliant, he said softly. You don't belong under anyone, not even me. Build your empire, I'll support it from the outside. Her voice cracked. You're serious? He reached across the table, took her hand, and kissed her knuckles. You're not my employee anymore. You're my woman. I won't break company rules, but I will break the world for you. Tears slipped down her cheek as she nodded, words failing her. Weeks passed. Amara launched Denton Communications out of a tiny, sunlit space with second-hand desks and borrowed chairs. But her name moved fast. She landed campaigns for 3 startups and rebranded a major fashion label within months. Damien stepped back from PR bids to let her shine, and she did. Gloriously. On her birthday, he invited her to a quiet beach. Lanterns lined the shore, soft high-life music playing. She walked barefoot on the sand, the wind tangling her curls. Then she saw him, Damien, in white linen, standing with a small box in hand, eyes wide with hope. I told myself I'd never love again, he said. But then you walked in with your fire and stubborn heart and reminded me what life could be. He dropped to one knee. Amara Denton, will you make me the luckiest man in this life and the next? She covered her mouth, tears streaming. Yes, she whispered. 1,000 times yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger, and beneath the stars, on that quiet beach where power met purpose, the man who never believed in love and the woman who once only dreamed of rising, found forever in each other. Life lesson from Amara and Damien's story. Sometimes the most powerful journeys begin in silence, with no fanfare, no applause, just quiet grit and unshakable faith. Amara's story teaches us that no matter where you come from, your principles can be your greatest asset. In a world that rewards shortcuts and compromise, she rose with dignity, hard work, and integrity. She didn't change herself to fit the mold. She broke it and built something better. Damien's transformation reminds us that even the coldest hearts can thaw when met with genuine connection. Love doesn't always enter with fireworks. It grows in shared respect, vulnerability, and the courage to let someone in, even when it's terrifying. This story isn't just about ambition or romance. It's about choosing truth over convenience, character over charm, and love over fear. It reminds us that you don't have to become loud to be seen or ruthless to succeed. You just have to stay true to your values, your dreams, and your heart. So wherever you are in your journey, whether you're climbing, falling, or just standing still, remember, you are not invisible. Your time is coming. Keep moving, keep believing, and never underestimate the quiet fire within you. We'd love to know. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city or country in the comments. And if this story moved you, inspired you, or gave you hope, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss another story like this one. Your story could be next.